On a cold December day in 1805, in the small town of Sharon, Vermont, a boy was born into a struggling farming family. The world into which Joseph Smith Jr. arrived was restless and uncertain. America was young, its identity still forming, and its people, especially those on the frontier, were searching for land, for stability, for meaning. Few could have imagined that this quiet child would grow into one of the most controversial and influential religious figures in American history. Joseph Smith grew up in western New York, an area that would later be called the Burned-Over District, a place so swept by religious revivals that it seemed perpetually on fire with spiritual enthusiasm. Preachers of every denomination traveled from town to town, proclaiming salvation, warning of damnation, and competing for converts. For families like the Smiths, religion was not abstract. It was urgent, emotional, and deeply personal. The Smith family lived on the margins. They struggled financially, moving frequently, working the land, and taking on odd jobs to survive. Joseph's father believed in visions and folk spirituality. His mother was devoutly religious. From an early age, Joseph was exposed to conversations about God, prophecy, and divine purpose, ideas that would shape his inner world. As a teenager, Joseph found himself torn by the religious confusion around him. Different churches claimed exclusive authority, each insisting it alone possessed the truth. Joseph later wrote that this contradiction troubled him deeply. He wanted to know which church, if any, was right and where he stood before God. According to his later accounts, this question led to a defining moment in his life. In the spring of 1820, when Joseph was about 14, he went into a grove of trees near his home to pray. What happened next would become known as the first vision. Joseph claimed that he was overcome by a dark force, then suddenly saw a pillar of light descending from heaven. In that light, he said, stood divine beings who told him that the existing churches were not fully correct and that he should join none of them. This experience, retold in varying detail over the years, became the spiritual foundation of what would later emerge as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. For believers, it marked the restoration of divine authority. For critics, it raised questions that would follow Joseph Smith for the rest of his life. At the time, however, Joseph was still a young man with no formal education, no power, and no clear path forward. That changed in 1823, when Joseph claimed to receive visits from an angel named Moroni. According to Joseph, Moroni told him of ancient records written on golden plates buried in a nearby hill, containing the history of ancient inhabitants of the Americas and the fullness of the gospel. Joseph said he was shown the location of the plates, but was instructed to wait several years before retrieving them. In 1827, Joseph claimed he was finally allowed to obtain the plates. From this point on, his life accelerated rapidly. Joseph stated that the plates were written in a form of ancient script and that he translated them by divine means, using seer stones and what he described as sacred instruments. The result was the Book of Mormon, published in 1830. The book told the story of ancient prophets in the Americas, their rise and fall, and the visit of Jesus Christ to the New World after his resurrection. The publication of the Book of Mormon was a turning point. Some saw it as inspired scripture. Others dismissed it as fraud or delusion. Almost immediately, Joseph Smith became a figure of fascination and hostility. That same year, Joseph formally organized a new church. What began as a small group of believers quickly grew, fueled by missionary work, strong communal bonds, and a message of restored truth. But growth brought conflict. Joseph Smith's leadership was charismatic and absolute. He claimed prophetic authority, received ongoing revelations, and introduced doctrines that challenged mainstream Christianity. His followers gathered into tight-knit communities, first in Ohio, then Missouri, and later Illinois. Each move was marked by tension with local populations, disputes over land, political power, and religious difference. In Missouri, hostility escalated into armed conflict. The state's governor issued an order effectively expelling Mormons from Missouri. Joseph was arrested, imprisoned, and narrowly escaped execution before eventually fleeing with his followers. These events deepened Joseph's sense of persecution and destiny. In Illinois, the Saints founded the city of Nauvoo, which quickly grew into one of the largest cities in the state. Joseph held multiple roles simultaneously, Prophet, mayor, military leader of the Nauvoo Legion, and political figure, the concentration of power was extraordinary and alarming to outsiders. During this period, Joseph introduced some of the most controversial doctrines of his career, including plural marriage. Practiced secretly and denied publicly for a time, polygamy later became one of the central reasons for internal dissent and external outrage. Even among believers, it caused deep pain, confusion, and division. Joseph also continued to expand theological ideas that were radical for their time: the potential divinity of humanity, continuing revelation, and a complex cosmology that reimagined the relationship between God and humankind. As Nauvoo grew, so did opposition, from former followers, neighboring communities, and political rivals. In 1844, a newspaper critical of Joseph Smith was destroyed by order of the Nauvoo City Council, citing public nuisance laws. This act inflamed tensions dramatically. Joseph was arrested and charged with treason. On June 27, 1844, while imprisoned in Carthage jail, Joseph and his brother Hiram were attacked by an armed mob. Both were killed. Joseph was 38 years old. His death shocked the nation and devastated his followers. To many, he died as a martyr. To others, he was a dangerous figure whose power had been finally stopped. Either way, his story did not end there. After Joseph Smith died, the movement he founded fractured. Leadership disputes emerged. Ultimately, Brigham Young led the largest group of followers westward to what would become Utah, where the church took root and grew into a global religion with millions of members. Joseph Smith left behind more than a church. He left behind a legacy of belief, controversy, suffering, devotion, and transformation. He was a man shaped by his time, a product of religious fervor, frontier hardship, and profound conviction. Whether viewed as prophet or provocateur, visionary or deceiver, Joseph Smith undeniably reshaped the American religious landscape. His life raises enduring questions about faith, authority, and the power of belief. Questions that continue to resonate long after his voice fell silent. In the end, Joseph Smith's story is not just about revelation or religion. It's about what happens when conviction meets charisma, when belief challenges institutions, and when one individual's certainty alters the course of history.